My. Did you see that video? Welcome to the Real Money Coach virtual town hall session. I'm so excited. Listen, tonight is going to be thebomb.com. We got Eugene Mitchell back, number 3. You know, they say 3 is the lucky number. And so I just want you right now to type in the chat box, where are you watching from? Because I want you to understand that tonight we're really going to be sharing. I mean, this is the culmination. So many of you already ordered Eugene Mitchell's book. I want to encourage you to, go ahead and get your copy. Do not let this escape you, because this man has really given these 7 strategies for really taking it to the next level. And readers are leaders and leaders are readers. So you want to go ahead and be part of the movement. You want to be part of saying, you know what? 2020 is the breakthrough year. It's the breakthrough year. But it's not going to happen because, as you know, hey, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. And that's why we're bringing you these type of phenomenal experts, thought leaders, because we want to expand the mindset. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. C plus B equals A. What you conceive in your mind, you believe in your heart, you will achieve. And so right now, go ahead and type in the chat box, where are you watching from? We want to see who's here with us. Oh man, I mean, this dynamic duo, right? I mean, I can always count on Brother Day and Dr. Bonita and Ruth Bell. I mean, this is phenomenal. So thank you so much. One thing I really am very clear about, you can always tell what a person values by looking at their calendar as well as their checkbook. And so these individuals, Brother Day, Dr. Bonita, Ruth, I mean, I just want to say thank you. And I know we got others that are joining in. So again, type in the chat box where you're watching from, because one of the things that I want you to understand is that what we do today will dictate where we'll be tomorrow. This is not rocket science. What you do today will dictate where you'll be tomorrow. And so tonight, man, it's going to be phenomenal. And okay, we got, oh my goodness, Brad's here and Melissa. So thank you so much for tuning in. Again, go ahead and hit the share button on your, Facebook Live so that your family, your friends can be seeing it on your page. Because again, each one teach one, each one reach one. And so with that, I want to cut this. I want to get Tony on, and we have our special guest because we want to make sure we have enough time to do all we need to do. Because I'm telling you, this is number 3. But he's back by popular demand. So let's bring Tony Jackson up, my colleague, the Real Money Coach. And Tony, how you doing?
Man, I am doing great. I am really excited, man, about part 3, right? So,
yes, sir.
Great things come in 3. Great things come in 3. And so tonight, man, Eugene is going to unpack rules 5, 6, and 7.
Wow.
We've had rules 1 through 4, right? Know yourself, know your worth.
Yes.
Ensure yourself, ensure your future. You can't earn your way to wealth, man. That's one of my favorite ones, right? You can't earn your way to wealth. And if you have a landlord in a Lexus, then you have a problem. I love it, Marlon. I love it. It's been so great. I've gotten so many great comments back from people who've watched this live or watched it later and that type of thing. And really, he's been a phenomenal friend, a phenomenal guest on our show. And it's like, the first time, we treat you kind of with kid gloves, then you come back the second time. Tonight, I just text him, man, we'll see you at 8, we just
right. Yeah.
Right. You ain't a visitor no more. Take your shoes off. Kick your shoes off.
Yeah. No doubt. And,
it's awesome.
And Tony, what I really love about Eugene is that, you can tell he's a man on purpose. The sincerity shines through, I mean, he really feels what he's sharing. And, what a blessing, right? $10 billion movement. Am I right? Was it 10 billion?
50 billion.
Wow.
50 billion.
You see what I'm saying? With a B, 50 billion. So that was his initiative. They achieved it, right? Because they wanted to really have African-Americans, legacy wealth, right? Education. I mean, 50 billion, the audacity to say, yo, we're going to do this, 50 billion strong.
And here's the thing, it's so amazing is it was, I think, 6 years that they took to do it. And imagine that's one company. Imagine if we all came behind a campaign like that.
Come on, man.
What would it do to manage and transfer wealth? Because we talk all the time is our history has been debit agents, right?
Right.
And they collect the money. It's a $500 policy. It's a $1,000 policy. What was thought to enough to put someone away, for a nice funeral.
Right.
That those costs changed. It wasn't enough, and all those type of things. And we shift from that to now doing some other things like, having enough to cover, the mortgage and that type of thing. But what we really got to get to is ensuring how much you're really worth. And that's the thing about what he's so passionate about, and he unpacks, is just knowing what you're worth. And he says, Black lives matter.
Yeah.
But what is a Black life worth?
It's good. It's good.
Have you thought about that, Marlon? Have you thought about that?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that, I have thought about that, right? And in my first book, Tony, I talk about how, you're literally, worth more than $1 million, right? I mean, I'm just talking about, do you know the muscles around our eyes? These are the strongest muscles in our entire body. I don't know if you knew that, right? We every day, 63 gallons of blood every hour circulates through our body, right? We breathe 2,500 gallons of oxygen, right? I mean, it's just amazing. The computer, this mind is so brilliant. So no, I definitely get that. I mean, this is the greatest computer on the face of the earth. And again, it's really you having that self-worth, right? You got to know who you are, right? And so I definitely get it, man. And I think, that's the key, and that's why, again, I feel Eugene's sincerity, because I'm saying to myself, man, he's a man that's on a mission to say, you know what, let's raise the, here I'm thinking 10 billion. You just, multiplied by 50 billion dollars. I mean, do you understand, Tony? That's creating legacy wealth, man. And so what, again, for him to have the gumption, right, to say, hey, we want to do this, we will do this, and did it, what they say, before, their what was it, 10 years, I think, or I mean, but they
tell us, man, but I believe it was like 6 years they did it, and so that's
before projections,
right,
man. And so I'm excited, brother.
Mindset, Marlon, but that hit me so much last week, as he was so passionate about Black lives matter,
right?
But what is Black life worth? I want to pull up a graphic, man, and I want our audience to take a look at this, because when I saw it, it upset me in that context. And so I want to pull it up, and I'm really asking everyone watching, I want you to engage with us as we have a conversation about this. And then one of the things we are going to do tonight is we're going to pull Eugene in on the show earlier to give him enough ample time, because we've been not giving the brother enough time. And so, but I want to pull this graphic up, and I just want to just show you what it is. When I saw this, some of you may have seen it before. This was from the Fox News report. Fox News aired this on their station. They had a whole story around it, and the whole premises of this graphic that you're looking at is they were associating the death of Black men and how the stock market reacted to it. And if there's ever been anything that was, to me, almost truly insulting, was the fact that that the society we live in would look at the assassination of Martin Luther King and say, after his assassination, the stock market went up 2.9%. After Rodney King, the acquittal, the market went up 1.2. Michael Brown's death, the market went up 1.2. After George Floyd's death, the market went up 3.4%. Now, for me, I'm saying, how dare you associate losing a life, these are all black males, and you're saying, really, this isn't more than we just really look at black lives as economic, as a commodity, no different than the interest rate being changed or something like that. How can you justify this type of equation where Fox News airs this graphic comparing the stock market performance after high-profile cases of violence against black men? So when I see this, Marlon, it just brings to the point that we got work to do.
Yeah.
Right? We got work to do. And that's, to me, when I read it, I was floored. I was floored. And I know there's been a lot of responses, and they issued a apology. I think Martin Luther King III chimed in on it on Twitter and that type of thing. But when I saw that, saying, come on, people, you got to know your worth. We got to do better, because if my people knew better, they would do better.
Sure.
And if this society is going to relegate us down to a tick on the stock market, I don't know. I just wanted to throw that out there for tonight and say, talk to us. What do you think about that? How does that make you feel? And then as we process it, what are you going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Are we simply going to get mad and do nothing? Sure. Or are we going to say, hey, listen, I'm going to take financial literacy, financial education, wealth building, closing the wealth gap, the 7 rules. Am I going to take that serious and stop being a subject, stop being reactive and being proactive?
Sure.
And so I wanted to throw that out there. I mean, and, just share it with everyone and say, talk to us. We got a few people that they're commenting out here. And so what do you think? What do you think? And and I really wanted to prime the pump tonight with Eugene, with sharing that, because I don't know if he saw it or not, but maybe he can come on the screen with the two of us and give us a little bit of what his reaction to that Eugene, had you seen that, or talk to us? What do you think?
Good evening, guys. How are y'all? It's really exciting to be back, and you start me off by getting me fired up like this.
Right. I told you I had a surprise for you tonight.
Oh, thank you, man. I had not seen that, and it truly breaks my heart to see how, certain news sources that have such a huge following can manipulate data and like you said, just diminish serious events, tragic events down to a blip on a stock chart. I mean, it's unfathomable. It's really degrading. Because as I sit there, just first the hurt. We've got a president who hasn't even acknowledged the death of George Floyd, and hasn't apologized or acknowledged the family, or sort of taken time. I don't know if you saw also today, he's making his first rally on next week on Juneteenth, and he's going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma. 99 years after the bombing of Black Wall Street.
Right.
This is where our president goes. And where I'm going with this is just, I think this is just more deflection and distraction from what's really going on. Let's talk about a stock market gain versus talking about the heart and the soul of America that's crying out right now. that the protests that have gone on 15 days in the streets, we're not going to acknowledge that. You know, we're going to put that down and just, I think, and so that's one level, the deflection and the distraction of a news channel cooperating with a president who's trying to deflect from what's really important and what is the true. I mean, they've not acknowledged or said the word systemic racism, institutional racism. You know, and it's only when you see that we talk about defunding police departments now, pulling money away, that folks are starting to wake up and say, oh, maybe there are some problems. And so I think what we're talking about and the importance of your show tying back to economics, because that's what's really making the move this time. And I think we got to keep the pressure going on that. That's one level of this. So like I said, you got me fired up. Another one here is the manipulation of the data. Yeah. So it's going to show that it's up 3.4%. But is that the only reason the stock market went up last week? Wasn't there some jobs report that now they're saying was some bogus numbers in the jobs report because now people weren't reporting that they were laid off. They've associated them with like taking vacation. And so no, the numbers have been recalculated or rejiggered, but the stock market went up in anticipation of what that should have and could have meant. So again, another deflection from what's really happening. And then the other thing, the stock market dropped 1,800 points today because COVID-19 is spreading across the country. So to pick and choose one incident out of the entire society that's going on to say, oh, this is what it is. This is what's driven this. I mean, it's hurtful, man. And that's why we have to stay focused. That's why we've got to come together and have these conversations. That's why we've got to empower each other in thought. And like I said, I hadn't seen the chart. So you bring it to my attention. I can give you my interpretation. We can sort of bounce that off and really get, some real headway on what we need to do to change this. That's what comes since you got me fired up here.
Right. I think that the key is, I think we have to really just, be fired up and then take action. Yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where Tony was really going, is that, it's on us now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when you're so blatant, just blatant, disrespect, and really kind of changing the narrative. Right. And I didn't know about the Tulsa, Oklahoma. I mean, I'm just like, wow, there's just a lot of insensitivity, right? And so, but for me, it's one of those things where, okay, game on, right? There's power within our community. There's power within each one of us. And now the question is, okay, what are we going to do? What am I going to do? I think we have to take responsibility individually as well as collectively. And so, okay, game on, let's roll. Let's do this thing. And, now, Eugene, having you on right now at this time, there are no mistakes, because I know we're going to talk about, finish out the 7 rules and whatnot. But really, let's really talk to this audience tonight. And for those of you, that are, I see people, firing up the chat box. I want you to really put on your thinking cap, because let's make today a defining day in our history, where each one of us on this call, each one of us on this virtual town hall meeting says, you know what? Today's the day. Today is the day when I make some new commitments. I make a decision, right? Decisions come from the Latin root word decadre, to cut off from any other possibility. I'm that focused. So I say, let's get it on. Let's really get it on. So I'm excited. I'm excited because we can funnel that energy. As the Bible says, right? Joseph said to his brothers, what you intended for evil, God used for good. And so, to me, I think it's just a wake up call, for those of us that might have been sitting on the sidelines, or, just kind of going through the motions. No, it's time. It's time to wake up. It's time to, when I saw, the video, I mean, I was, it's almost like a bad nightmare.
That's right.
I mean, and what really caught me was the people on the sidewalk saying, yo, he can't breathe. He can't breathe. I mean, and the cop was just so like, I mean, it was almost like, he was just not even fazed, right? 8 minutes, the man was handcuffed. So anyways, I know we've all seen the video, but what I'm saying is, we can tell that, oh my goodness, okay, it's game on. People are so blatant to share, where they stand. And, for me, I think it's just one of those things where, we have to really now step up. That's it. We have to step up. I mean, and so, let's talk, Eugene. Let's talk, Tony. Let's talk, audience. The power is within us. When you study history, it's always a small few that change the world. A small committed individuals, right? The four brothers from North Carolina A&T that went down to the Woolworth department store, right? And the sit-in counter, right? They sat at the counter and, and almost got killed. But that was a spark. That was a spark for the sit-in movement. So my point is that, those four college students, those are heroes. Those are heroes. Those are individuals, young college students that said, enough is enough, right? The Freedom Riders. Oh my goodness, man. I mean, I can go on and on, but Eugene, I'm on fire as well. Yeah. So, let's do this thing.
Well, and it's just the reality of where we are. And we got to deal with it. Even Eugene talked about the stock market. We have a graphic of the stock market today. Look, I mean, this is what we're living with, right? In this, you got a stock market that's up and down 18 points. People are on mask. We got protests in the streets, and we're saying, what are we going to do? And that's where we all can take a positive action and say, not on my watch, that I'm like Popeye tonight, y'all.
Uh-oh.
Enough is enough.
That's right.
Enough is enough. And so I'm very thankful for you, Marlon. I'm thankful for Chris and Eugene and the people who have been on this show, because our whole purpose is to make a difference.
Come on.
And we understand this. We started this on April 2nd.
Sure did.
April 2nd, and we intended it to be one town hall show about COVID-19 in the stock market.
Yeah.
Here we are, 2 months later.
That's right.
Right. And the audience has still been hanging with us. They've been coming every week. We've had wonderful guests like Eugene, George Frazier, and on and on and on.
Right.
And because we just want to make a difference. And we understand this, that it won't happen overnight. It won't happen overnight. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take patience, right? And resources.
That's
and
right.
So we're just elated. I just wanted to throw that out there again, just for our discussion tonight, because I thought it was relevant as we talked about Black Lives Matter, but what is a Black life worth? And guess what? The point that I really saw in that is that if we're not looking at it, if we're not paying attention, other people are looking at our lives and saying, what are they worth? So we have to stop letting other people tell us what we're worth. And so that's what it meant. That's what it said to me. And so I wanted to bring that tonight. And
so let me pick up on that. So I love what you're saying. And this is the value of us having this dialogue. See, what you just said, people are associating value to that life, but they're taking the value of an appreciation for the market on the death of the Black life.
Right.
So that think about that. So they're talking about a dead Black life. We call him a criminal. We called him a thug. We called him, passing counterfeit bills. They're trying to degrade his character and everything. And they're saying, that the market has gone up because we took care of him. You see, and that cop, what hurt me so deep was that he was making an example in front of all these children, the audience, in front of the cameras, to say, you know what, I can do this, and you're powerless to do anything against me. Here and now, because I've got my other buddies to back me up. Even if we get charged on this, the chances are I'm not going to go to jail, because that's what the history has been. And so when you look at, he's feeling protected, and we've got a president saying that he's law and order. We got to dominate the streets. When we do that, when a Black man is killed, the stock market goes up. See how folks are telling their side of this story, their narrative. That's why it's important for your show and for us to continue to talk about, no, that's not real. That's not right. That's not the way this should be interpreted. You see, this is a fluke that the market went up because of a jobs report. It wasn't about the death. Come on now. Let's talk about the marching in the streets. Let's talk about the people who are calling for change. who are pulling money out to talk about defunding police departments. That's what we should be talking about, the impact of that, because that's what I believe is where they're afraid to show the truth on this. This is where they trying to deflect us. They're trying to deflect and distract. Let's stay focused.
And here's the thing about it too, Eugene, is that if we don't tell our narrative, we allow others to tell it for us.
Yes.
Right.
And so we need to tell the narrative that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are God's people on earth, right? Yeah. And God loves you.
Valuable.
Beyond measure. That's what beyond numbers.
So wow. Yes, how Black Lives Matter. I was thinking about the 60s. Remember, I am somebody.
Right.
Yeah. I am a man. I mean, these were all statements of truth, but what we're talking about is taking that to the next level. I am valuable to my family as a provider, as a producer, as a builder, as a contributor, as a leader, right? As a father, right? As a husband, I am valuable. So when that man didn't make it home, that Black man didn't make it home, all of that was taken away. I think that's where we have to start associating the value to make sure that other folks, because they'll devalue us in a second. Like this, he was a thug, he was this. That's what, like you said, we have to rewrite and retell our story of the value of this man that was taken away. And all of those others, right? All of those in COVID-19 that have gone from our community. What that means, how we're set back. And this is what we're talking about, this financial empowerment. How can we make sure that we're set up when any cause happens like this, when any crisis happens, when any pandemic happens, that we're always being set up from generation to generation. We got to tell our story, brothers.
Yeah, and Eugene, we want to turn you loose on the book, but this is the thing that you just said. You know, in the 60s, it says, I am a man, right? Yeah. And today we're carrying signs says Black Lives Matter, right? And so what we want to do is we want the people who are listening, and your friends, your family, your network, we want you to put action behind the letters on the sign, behind the words. Because faith without works is dead.
That's right.
And so we can say that all we want. I can say that until till nobody else will listen.
That's right.
But if I don't put action behind what I'm saying, I'm simply a sounding tingle.
That's right.
Right.
And so, Tony, I think, and Eugene, as we were about to bring Eugene on, I would love, man, to challenge the viewers, right, to just type in the chat box, what's the commitment you're going to make?
That's right.
Right. Because I think that's where the power is, when we see other people, saying, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I think it just really inspires all of us. So I would love for each one of us to type in the chat box, what are you going to do? And maybe we can kick it off, guys, and then, let Eugene share. Because, I mean, it's all what Eugene is sharing. It's so appropriate. It's right on time. But I also want all of us to understand, to your point, that's why I mentioned the four brothers from North Carolina A&T. Right? I mean, they just, young college students, man, right? And they risked their lives and they got beat and, and almost killed and so on and so forth. But that was the spark. Right. And so that's the power, Eugene. That's the power, Tony. That's the power, viewers. We can all do our part. So, as people are typing in the chat box, what are you going to do? I mean, what's your contribution? Right. And because that's where it starts. So, Tony, from your perspective, what do you feel, man?
Man, I tell you, for me, Marlon, it's just a stronger commitment to what we're doing. Right. My life has really made a really shift over the last year, 18 months, where I am so passionate about financial education and literacy. Wow. I believe that is the door that it's the key that unlocks the door, right? Because it's not about, because one of the things, money passes through our hands, I mean, and I'm almost getting, I'm leading into point 5, but there's money that has passed through our hands.
Sure.
Right. But if we don't know what to do with it when we get it, then, we'll make mistakes. I mean, we'll do things because all of the narrative, all of the commercialism, all of the consumerism, all the messages that we hear is spend it, spend it, spend it, spend it. That's what the message out there is.
Yeah.
And so rule number 5 is it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And so that's why I'm so passionate now about financial education literacy. And so I'm just doubling down on my commitment in this process.
And for me, and then we'll let Eugene share and lead into, these phenomenal 7 rules. I see Karen Braxton said, we all must vote.
That's right.
And man, I not only am I going to vote, I'm making a public commitment. I'm going to get out there and canvas. I'm going to really do what I have to do. I'm serious. Because I'm not going to be sitting back and say, oh man, can you believe what happened, without me being in the game, right? And like you said, Tony, talk is cheap. So that's my commitment. I'm standing up right now publicly. I'm going to be out there canvassing. I'm going to be out there, getting people to vote, voter registration. I promise you, yes, I am committed. I am committed, because come November, it's so critical. And so that's my commitment. And I see now the chat box is just lightening up. So Eugene, what about you, brother? And then, I know I'm putting you guys on the spot, but I think we have to now raise the bar. We have to raise the consciousness. I mean, we're all, upper, middle class, right? Families and whatnot. And, sometimes we can get comfortable.
That's right.
All right. Let me just keep it real, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Right. My grandpa, my mom's father, and grandma, not college educated. And you talk about the racism, back then in that day, right? I mean, like my mom was telling me how even the movie theater, she had to sit in the back in the balcony. Are y'all with me? I mean, this is real talk. Yeah. And so my point is that, okay, now we live in the suburbs, and we, can flow. We can go to restaurants. We can, go to any hotel we want, because we got, you're right. But I mean, we can also say, I believe, and I'm just going to be real, because I lived in South Africa. I saw the ramifications of apartheid, and I saw how when apartheid ended, how, some got comfortable. Right. And I know we all want the best, and so on and so. We want our children. But there's also, if you don't have that fight, if you don't have that, there's a struggle, right? If we're not all free, none of us are free. Right. And so, I think that's the other part. And again, I'm just straight up. I'm Marlon Christopher Smith. Yes, that's my name. I'm all in it. I am going to be really committed to doing all I can to move this thing as far as the vote. All right. And I'm talking about not just national, but even the local. Right. We have to be more involved. So that's it, man.
Well, let me say this. And then Chris, you got to take Marlon off the screen. Let him go. Right.
I want Eugene to come back a 4th time. Okay. That's what I want.
Brad said there's 2 ballots you cast. Right. One is a vote ballot at the voting booth. The other is what your dollars every day. You cast a vote with how you spend your money. If you want to make a change somewhere, pull your money back. And Brad said, we ought to buy black as much as possible. And we know that black first, not black only, and all of that. But you make a vote with your dollars every day of what's important to you and who's important to you. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Eugene. We're going to try to get through these last 3 rules. And so go ahead, Eugene, take us away.
Yeah, I think we're bringing it home here. I love everything that you said, everything from spreading the financial literacy message, especially about voting and getting out in November at every level. We've got the House of Representatives. We got everybody on the ballot there. We got to make sure that we participate and we bring folks with us. It can't be just us. We got to bring as many people. Get busloads of folks to make sure that they're out there casting this vote. We've got to create some change on the platform out there this year. I love the concept of buying black and cycling our dollar. $1.2 trillion earned income that we have. It's my good friend Maggie Anderson. She did a study at the University of Chicago, said that on average, what we spend with Black businesses, what at the 43 million Black people across America, what we typically spend is only 3% of what we make with Black-owned businesses. And if we were to increase that amount from 3% to 10%, that increased demand on those businesses to produce, to have to hire people, to have to deliver, that would increase 1 million jobs across those Black businesses. And who are they likely to hire but other Black people? We can impact our own employment, our own community by supporting and cycling our own dollar. This is something that we have to, especially at this point, be conscious of where we're spending our money. That's definitely something that's on my list here. And the fourth thing on my list was about raising conscious children. We've got to share all of this with the children. We've got to make sure that they're not watching. I think maybe it's a blessing that we don't have sports and we don't have all the distractions that we would normally have. So this is all we're talking about. This is all that we're looking at every day, and it's a godsend to I think to be channeled and focused and have time to protest and to march and to call people out and to post and so we're posting about these important things, not just the nonsense that we often just seeing go across the gram every day, right? This is where we need to be, right? And the last thing I think we've got to, for me, in this whole know yourself, know your worth, I am valuable. We've got to take care of ourselves. Right? When COVID-19 hasn't gone away, and we talk about these, and this is, I'm sure in our lifetime and in lifetimes to come, there'll be other pandemics. And so they're saying the underlying conditions are affecting those. We know the systemic issues with healthcare and access and insurance and biases and being treated. I get that. But obesity and hypertension and diabetes, these are things that we can manage. These are things that we can make sure that we're on top of. And so we've got to take care of ourselves as million-dollar assets. But when I think about that statement again, I am somebody. I want to add in this, and I say it in the book, I am somebody worth $1 million to myself and my family and my community. That's what I want to talk about. That, I am Black Lives Matter, but I am worth, it's $1 million me and $1 billion community when we put all this together. When you think about just the contributions we make, how we manage our resources, where we're steering our money, that's the important thing here. And just bring it back, chapter 4 there, Tony. If you have a landlord and a Lexus, I put in, then you have a problem. I talk about budgeting guidelines, because for me, when I thought about this chapter, just to take a quick step back, I thought about where have I learned what I'm supposed to be and allotting different amounts of my money to in this financial realm. I'm told 3% of my money of my salary is supposed to go to 401k. I'm told that 10% is to go to tithing, right? What the home says they're not going to give me a mortgage for more than 28% of my monthly income. So what about the rest of it? Is my $750 car payment on budget from what everybody else in the world is doing? Is the $300 belt that my son wants to buy when he's working at the mall, hasn't earned that in 2 paychecks? Is this the right way to start going? So this is where I thought in chapter 4, I've got to lay out some budgeting guidelines. And what I did, I looked at the national averages for housing, for utilities, for food, for transportation, to see when you lay out your own spend from month to month, are you in line with other folks out there? And if not, where might you need to scale back, right? And some of these charts were still missing, so I had to add in my own parts to this. So the national chart that I pulled this from, that is put out by the national government about the average spends, which I didn't know to begin with, they were still missing things like child support. I spend a whole lot of money every month in child support for my son, right? And so that's a factor that I have to weigh in the way of me trying to invest money to build wealth and the expenses and outflow of money that I have, right? But I have to be conscious of it. I have to be mindful of it. And so in the book, I put this out in sort of managing your budget and your sort of your income and outflow, just to make sure that we're on par and we're understanding where our money goes.
Powerful.
Chapter 5, I know we talked about briefly last week. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. We talked about the difference between income what you make from week to week, and wealth, where you invest your money for it to appreciate and grow. I also, in this chapter, go deeper into what I believe that I've seen. We talk about old money and new money. And for those families, especially in other communities that have had generational wealth, what are they looking at, and how are they spending their money differently than us, right? But when it comes to home ownership, right? My wife's boss lives in her parents' home, right? But we're looking to buy new homes and extravagant, like she doesn't have a mortgage because she inherited her parents' home, and so what she makes is banked all the time. Right? We're talking about how do we set our families up, our children and our children's children up to be in the positions like those. That's old money. When they don't have to show off, right, the fancy new cars because we have money. We don't need to brag about it. Right? We said that the poor folks are trying to look rich, and rich people are okay looking poor. But that's the mindset that this chapter is not what you make, it's what you keep. And what you get to do with it is so important.
You got me on that one. You heard me. You heard. I like, ooh, that's it. Because I always talk about, it's not about just protecting your money, growing your money, but ultimately, what do you get to do with your money? And not only what do you get to do with it, how long do you get to do with it? And then what happens when you're done? Your days are up here. How does it pass on to the next generation?
And what you do with it. And so that just to build upon that, I was given it's called a lifestyle activities chart. It's one of these leadership meetings that I went to years ago. This was handed out, and some could take it as sort of being a little stereotypical, but I wanted to include it in the book because it goes by different earnings levels of society, of individuals and families, and what they typically spend their money on, right? And what really it affords you to do. So what kind of car do the folks who are in the $50,000 range drive? Others around the country. Typically, when you go to 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, and what are the percentages there? Is the car 5% of your net worth? I mean, so I break down some ways to think about whether you're in line with where you are in your earnings level, right? And what we say, actual wage, not just your age, actual wage, right? Can I make $30,000 a year and drive $100,000 car? You can, but you're not creating wealth doing that. So are you acting your wage? But also in addition, I talk about other activities. What community boards are you on? What vacations are you taking? What other investments do you have? I mean, wouldn't you want to know? Because most of us haven't had access to those who are at the higher income levels. So what are they investing their money in? What do they do differently? Where do they go to entertain? What kind of sports do they participate in? How are they grooming their children with tutors and activities and excursions and outreach and vacations? So I share some of this in the book so that we can understand and see what other folks are doing. So that's why
I think it's great, because you have those 7 different income levels, and the different things. And one of the things you just said that really kind of sparks me is we say this: just because you can buy it doesn't mean you can afford it.
There you go.
Just because you can buy it doesn't mean you can afford it. And so I think that's very important concept there too, that's coming out of this chapter. And when you said it, it made me think about just because you can buy it doesn't mean that you can afford it.
That's right.
Right. So that's
it ends off. The chapter ends off. I talk about this mass transfer of wealth that's coming that many of us in our community isn't talking about. So we know the baby boomers are retiring and they're dying, but for other communities, that means that there's inheritance to be had, right? They've made money. They've made the most money of all generations, the baby boomers so far, right? And what's going to happen to that? From the homes, from the investments, from the businesses and the likes. So that's going to transfer. $59 trillion over the next 20 years is expected to transfer from the baby boomers to their children and to charities and to taxes, right? But what part of that 59 trillion will we participate in? Are we aware to do the same things that they're doing, right? If I have a business, should I be gearing myself to take care of the baby boomers and to participate in that? Am I helping to manage money? Am I owning a retirement home? Am I there's ways that we can think about how to position to take advantage of that wealth that is transferring from other communities that hasn't been on our radar. And so I talk about that and just give some ideas of how you can position yourself to take advantage there.
Well, and that's a great point, because you're looking at over 10,000 people turning age 65 projected for the next, 18 years. Every day, 10,000 people turning age 65 for the next 18 years, as the baby boomers, those people born between 1946 and 1964, are now getting to retirement age. Trillion, and I think you said the number, there's trillions of dollars of wealth that will pass from one generation to another. Not only that, folks, but even from the employee sponsor plans into individual plans. And are we putting ourselves in the path of the revenue, right? To take care of people. There's opportunities there to serve the baby boomer generation as they age. Everyone's planning on it. You better believe that GM and Ford are looking at what's going on and trying to figure out what that demographic wants in a car. Minivan, SUV, whatever it happens to be, they're watching it. And we need to understand that there's opportunities there for us too in many different types of businesses. I mean, and so we believe in entrepreneurship and putting yourself in a position to do that. Find out what you love, find out who needs it, and go out and provide it to them. And so I'm sorry, I just kind of jumped on that because I think that's great.
Perfect, man. So now we've gone from your individual to your family. Chapter 6 is rich people plan for 3 generations, poor people plan for Saturday night. Let's sink in a minute. Rich people plan for 3 generations. Poor people plan for Saturday night. And a big part of this is mindset, right? And so you talk about broke and being poor. You're broke because of your mindset, or you're poor because of just my financial situation right now. But I'm working hard. I'm working on it. I'm going to get to the next level. I've got goals. I'm going to sacrifice. I think a big word we haven't even touched on, and I go through it in the book, is sacrifice. What are we willing to give up, right? To sacrifice for where we're trying to go. But I've got to sacrifice my fancy car because I got to make my child support payment. That's I talk about my own. So the book gets into some of my own personal stories and some of the things that I've had to reconcile in my life, right? And so these are some of the things that I talk about understanding. Just so the need of creating that generational wealth and what other communities have done to do that and to get there, and that we can do it too. None of this is out of our reach to do this. We just have to make sure that we're planning appropriately and understanding the tools and rules to get there. And so that's what this book has been about for me, helping to share, ideas and strategies, my own hiccups and struggles and challenges and fallbacks. My life hasn't been one straight path to the top at all. I've had all kinds, from divorce, from failing small business, from the bad investments. But I talk about how what I've learned from it, and how I got back on track, and how I've continued to build from it. And so I'm just trying to share what I've learned, share what I've seen, share what I've witnessed other communities doing that we've been missing.
Well, Eugene, you just made me think about, what we always say is like, you see the glory, but you don't know the story, right? Yeah. And you put the story right here. That's what I love, man. You put your own business right out there in the book. And one of the things you talk about in Rule 6 that I just want to make a plug is wills and trust, in terms of them being instruments that we need to utilize. And so I just want to let our audience know that I'm talking with someone, a very well-known estate attorney that we're going to have come onto the show and talk about wills and trust. Can't say the name now. We haven't confirmed it yet. But we're going to bring that to you too, because we think that's the next step. Is you've accumulated the wealth. If you haven't accumulated, you've been able to leverage it by getting some insurance or whatever the case may be. Now, how do you protect it so that it does pass to the next generation in the best way possible?
Excellent. In thinking about generations, there's one story I like to tell. It's one of many in the book here, but it's something I learned from watching families. I'll say it is from the Jewish families that lived across from me here in Brooklyn, right? I was asking, well, how do they set up? We understand there's a different conversation about sort of history amongst the family. Every week is about sort of where they came from. It's about sort of money management. It's about the sort of the religion. I mean, they've got a great foundation that they're building upon. But I also wonder, what is it about some of the money aspects that we've been missing? And so I asked somebody, well, tell me some things that are going on. And one, when you talk about this generational wealth, it was a strategy that I was just blown away by. But me and my sister did take it on afterwards. They would say they would take out $1 million of life insurance on the two oldest in the family. And in that family of 20, the 18 others would make the payments on it. So they would pool their funds to make the payments on those policies for the two oldest. And it wasn't about profiting off the death of grandma and grandpa, but about holding them up as the matriarch and the patriarch. Because from that $2 million, what they're intending to do with it is pay for the college education for the children and the grandchildren, right? They're going to give the down payments for homes. Think about what you could put down on a home with $2 million. How many homes you can buy with $2 million? Rental income, right? You talk about the brownstones in Brooklyn. They're $1 million, $2, $3, $4 million each. Now you can buy 3 or 4 of those at one time and rent out the other floors. This is what these folks are doing in building generational wealth, planning for 3 generations. They're the ones who are going to take that $2 million and use it as the down payment, the startup capital for new businesses. So those kids come out of school with no student loans. They get to start their own business because the family is going to give them the funding to get going. So we're still looking for a job from the man. This is how they're setting themselves up, and with startup capital, without having to go to the bank, without having to do credit reports, without having to have the biases, saying that we don't lend to you, kind of all the things that we've been challenged with in the Black community. They figured out for themselves how to get around using this one financial tool on the 2 oldest in the family. And think about when they start that, at some point, just the downstream of that, the transformation in families that can be created. And I guess that's where this book is going, and where I want to sort of wrap this conversation up now in saying the intention here is to leverage these tools and strategies for transformation, family and community transformation. That's what this can do. That's what millions of dollars being transferred with the mindset to not spend it, not to consume, not to to blow it, not to see it as one lump sum that we're going to get rid of today, but to think about how we can invest for the long term. That's planning for 3 generations, where others are planning for Saturday night. So I talk about more of that in chapter 6.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's such a good book. I just couldn't put it down when I got it. And again, I recommend it. Those of you who are on my team, I got mine ordered. Such an awesome book. And one of the things that my son said to me yesterday, and it really struck me. We were talking about police department and reform and all that kind of stuff, and he says it's hard to build a plane when it's already in the air.
That's
right. And that really, that really sunk into me. It's hard to build an airplane when it's already in the air. And so, and I take that into this conversation, it's hard to do it if you're not planning. You got to plan. You got to get the right things, and we got to have the right people on board. We got to have the right mindset. And the other thing I thought about with the airplane analogy is it's hard to fly from New York to California if you haven't charted your course. You can't get up in the air and then decide, where am I going to go? You chart your course first. And that's what the chapter reminded me of, is that we have to plan further ahead. And so I appreciate you unpacking that for us.
And then lastly, I appreciate that. Chapter 7, a rising tide lifts all boats. And I think what we're doing here is representative of this chapter. It's about coming together. What's the African proverb? If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And this is what I believe that so many of us in the Black community, we're going alone. We're in our silos. I think it was Dr. Martin Luther King that said, we're not so much divided as we are disconnected. Not so much divided as we are disconnected. This chapter is about us coming together. It's about understanding who's out there. I gave a directory of resources that the folks are doing so many great things in our community. Many of us don't even know about. I tried to list as many as I could that we can, support, that we can learn from, we can participate in, that we can collaborate with, right? I talk about economic engines of our new movement for the Black community. And I give ideas there of where we can continue to invest and channel our money. I give some case studies of folks who I think have done it well. You talk about building the block. You talk about creating a Black app for where the businesses are. I give some of those kind of case studies. And then lastly is just sort of this pledge. Let's pledge to ourselves, to our family and our community, to like I said, to take on this with all our passion, all our effort right here, right now. Now is the time, especially with all that's going on around us. But we can't lose sight. We can't get distracted when the sports come back and the new season of shows come out. We've got to stay focused if we're really going to create wealth and move to the next level.
We got to go back to this. We got to go back to this.
There you go. That's it. Love it.
We got to go back to this. This is 1959 edition of the Green Book, where we patronized our own businesses. We knew where they were. Somebody's going to come out with the app to get us back to this.
Yeah.
We're talking about Black Wall Street. We're talking about all these things. We got to get back to this. And so, man, so proud of the book, man. Just you've been so gracious to come with us 3 times. So I'm asking our audience again to support. Get yourself a copy of the book, unless you got one coming from me, right? But get yourself a copy of this book. Eugene, tell us where to go to get the book so that we're supporting you directly.
Great. EugeneMitchell.com. EugeneMitchell, EugeneMitchell.com. There it is. I appreciate you to go through my website. It's coming straight to me. I'll sign it and put it in the mail to you as soon as I get the order. Of course, it's on Amazon, it's on Barnes and Noble, but that they're taking a huge chunk of that. I think what they say, George Soros just made 150, I think, was it $1 billion over this last 3 months because Amazon stock has gone up so much. But we're making other people rich. Let's make sure to cycle the dollar back. And I'm a small Black-owned business, so please go to the website EugeneMitchell.com and buy it through me, and then I'll make sure to sign and send it to you as soon as I get the order.
Awesome. Well, Marlon, here we are. We've just finished. We just finished part 3. It been a great series.
Awesome.
It truly has. And thank you, Eugene. And for all of you that are watching, thank you, because again, you can see Eugene's passion and again, each one of us is part of the solution. And so I would love for you, everyone just to, it's one thing to, buy a book for yourself, but also think about your family, think about your friends, think about the younger children. And maybe this could be like a book club, right? That's something that I think is really, many people are not doing like we used to do, right? Picking a book, coming together, reading the book together, sharing. And that's really what it's all about. And I love what Jerome said, teaching your children how to handle money responsibly and be grateful for every day's gift is the most important legacy that you can pass down to your children. By the time children are 12 years old, they should begin earning their own money to pay for their entertainment. Thank you. Thanks, Jerome. That's powerful. And Wayne says, awesome, brothers, phenomenal information. Constance says, wow, book club, great idea. Harvey Jones says, great job. And so, I think, again, let's each one of us be part of the solution. And, I really think, book club, that would be really phenomenal, and online book club, right? And so, let's all, go to eugenemitchell.com and get the book. Let's support this brother. You can see his passion, you can see his heart, and it's just very exciting. So, closing the racial wealth gap, 7 Untold Rules for Black Prosperity and Legacy by Eugene Mitchell. And again, as I said earlier, you can tell Eugene is very sincere, and really is just sharing, and stories are the things that really, I think, resonate with people. And so for him to be willing to share his own stories, his own triumphs, and as well as trials is very encouraging, because once you take off the mask, it inspires other people. And so, yeah, thanks, Karen. Let's support Eugene and another great town hall. Kudos to Tony and Marlon and their dynamic guests like Eugene Mitchell, who are committed to economic literacy. Thank you. And I love what Evelyn said. Thank you all for your time and attention to these important needs. And Alice said, thank you, Eugene, ordering your book tonight. So thank you, Alice. So again, and what I would encourage you to do, family, is to, yes, order the book, but also, email your network. There's so many people, that are not with us tonight, and they could benefit. So again, you can, I would love for you to go to youtube.com and search for The Real Money Coach. We're looking to hit a plateau. And so we'd love for you to go to YouTube and find our The Real Money Coach and go ahead and click the subscribe button, to our YouTube channel, because again, we're looking to elevate in YouTube, and so that we can get more of these videos out. So if you're willing to do that, we would greatly appreciate it. You can go to YouTube before you close out for the internet tonight, and find The Real Money Coach. And so again, just want to say thank you for being here with us. Thank you for sharing your time, because again, time is our most precious commodity. And this is what we're doing. And so again, if you have any thoughts on future guests or topics that you'd like to see covered, send an email to info@therealmoneycoach.com. Again, that's info@therealmoneycoach.com, because we'd love to, hear from you. This is a community. This is a community. This is a virtual town hall. This is, yes, April 2nd, Tony and I launched this. And with Chris, who's phenomenal, as our, technology director. And we're going to continue. We definitely have tapped into something. And again, I want to say thank you to all of you. And again, if you have a topic, or if there's a subject matter expert that you would love for us to bring on, the webinar series, send us an email, info@therealmoneycoach.com. And, we'd love, if you like the idea about starting like a book club, with Eugene Mitchell's, let us know if you're in. We would have a separate book club, and that could be really a lot of fun. Maybe use Zoom so we could see each other. But that's just a thought that just came through me. So if you're interested, send an email to info@therealmoneycoach.com, and we'll take it from there. So with that all being shared, there's, again, 3 action items. Number 1, decide what is your commitment. What's your commitment for elevating the consciousness and making a difference with your life, right? That's number 1. Decide what you're going to do. And many of you posted in the chat box what you're going to do. Number 2 is, yes, go and order Eugene's book, eugenemitchell.com. Right? This is an opportunity, get an autographed book, and what a blessing that will be for him, but also for you and your family, because again, success leaves footprints. And then number 3, would really thank you so much for, going to YouTube and, searching for therealmoneycoach.com and subscribing to our YouTube page. Do that tonight. So those are the 3 action items. As Tony said, faith without works is dead. And so it's now time to take action. And so on behalf of The Real Money Coach, we say thank you. I am Marlon Smith, in partnership with Tony Jackson and Chris Jackson. We say live with purpose, because your success is your choice. And what we do today will dictate where we'll be tomorrow. The world is counting on you. You, that's right, I'm talking about you. because there's certain gifts, there's certain talents that you've been blessed with. And now's the time for you to step up, for you to shine your light bright, because we need you. You are an answered prayer to someone, to our community, to our nation, and we need you. Stay blessed.